Hello class, this is Coach Holmes, and today we're going to be talking about distributed property, okay? So we're going to talk about actually distributing numbers into a parentheses. So, as far as what's different between these two equations, well, it's pretty simple. I mean, if you think about it, notice how we have a parentheses in the bottom, okay? That's the biggest difference between those two. We actually have a parentheses involved into the equation. So what we're looking for is that the bottom equation has parentheses in it. Okay? So we have parentheses involved. Now, what does the parentheses tell us? Well, it tells us that this is 2 times x plus 2. So it's this 2 times this whole thing, okay? Not just part of it, but this whole thing is multiplying, okay? That's the biggest thing. Now, how do we actually go about it is a little bit different. How we go about it is pretty simple, by the way. Here we go. That's how I wanted to move. Okay? So this is simple right here. 3 times 2x plus 1 equals 6. Okay? Now, I am multiplying. So I am doing 3 times 2x. 3 times 2 is 6. That doesn't change anything with the x, so I just leave it as an x. However, I'm not just distributing or multiplying 3 times 2x, I'm also multiplying 3 times 1. That's where the distribute comes from. It comes from the 3 that's being distributed to both the 2x and the 1. Best way to look at it is like, if obviously since you're not in the classroom, I'm going to have rows, okay? So let's say if I distribute candy to one row, but not the second row, that wouldn't be fair, right? Okay, because the second row, I'm like, well, why don't we get one? We're part of the class. Okay, that's part of it. I gotta distribute a 3 to not just the 2x, but the 1 as well. But after I distribute, now I just go ahead and solve it. So 6x plus 3, I guess gotta subtract the 3 from both sides. So the 3 cancels out. I get 6x equals 3. Now what I gotta do with the 6? I gotta divide because it's multiplying. So divide by 6 to both sides. I get x equals 3 over 6. But I can simplify this a little bit further by saying 1/2. By saying that I can divide the 3 by 3, the bottom by 6. I divide the top by 3, the bottom by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So x equals 1/2. Okay? So you can get fractions involved. Okay? There may be some fractions, but even then, it still works out the same way. Now, here's what's different. I got a negative out in front. So what am I supposed to do with that? Well, remember, it's just like an imaginary 1 in front. So really, I'm distributing the -1 to both the x and the 7. So really, I'm doing -1 times x, which is negative x, and -1 times 7, which is -7. So then all I gotta do is just solve it, okay? So even if I have an x right here, even if I have a negative, I can just really distribute the negative. Now I'm gonna go back to solving it. -x minus 7. Since it's -7, I'm gonna add 7 to both sides. 7's canceled out. -x equals -10 plus 7 is -3. Now remember, I got a negative x. I can't just leave it as a negative x. I got to make it positive. So I'm going to divide by -1 to both sides. The negative cancel out. So I'm left with x, 1x, equals -3 divided by -1 gives me a +3. Okay? So really, if you notice, after you distribute, all you really got to do is just solve it. The hard part is already, the first step is the hard part, which is distributing. Now, let's say we have samples where we end up combining like terms. So this one's set up a little bit different. Now I got 5x minus 1 times 2x plus 8. All that's going to equal to 1. Okay? A little bit more complicated, a little bit tougher. But again, I just got to distribute first. So I want to distribute the -1 to both the 2x, which makes it negative. -1 times 8 gives me -8. I don't do anything with the I don't do anything with the 5x. Nothing changes. Okay? And the 1 doesn't change. So now I gotta combine like terms, which means 5x minus 2x, because I gotta combine these two, gives me a +3x. Nothing happens to the 8, so I still make a -8. Now, -8, I'm going to add 8 to both sides. The 8 cancels out, I'm left with 3x equals 1 plus 8, which is 9. Now, 3x equals 9. Since it's multiplying, I got to divide. X equals 3. Since 9 divided by 3 gives us 3. So this will be my answer. Now, looking for the second problem. 2 parentheses x plus 7, close parentheses, minus 4 equals 10. That will be the way you most commonly hear. Okay? You won't necessarily hear 2 times x plus 7 minus 4 equals 10. That's a little bit too, so it makes it sound like it's just 2 times x. But if you do 2 parentheses x plus 7, close parentheses, minus 4, then we know now we know what parentheses, what's inside the parentheses, basically. If you mention the parentheses in the middle of the equation, we now know where it's inside. We do need to say close parentheses because the -4 is not part of the parentheses. So let's go ahead and work this out though. I'm going to distribute a 2 to the x and the 7. Now, 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 7 is 14. However, notice that I'm going ahead to bring down the -4. Because this -4 or this -4 is not part of the parentheses. It's not inside. So I'm not distributing the 2 to the -4. I just leave it as it is. Now, I still got to combine like terms, which means I got the 14 and the -4, which gives me a +10. 2x plus 10 equals 10. Well, I got to subtract 10 from both sides. So this 10 cancels out. I get 10 minus 10, which is 0. And of course I divide by 2. And of course 0 divided by any number is just 0. So we get the answer to be, x equals 0. So the biggest thing we want to keep in mind when it comes to distributive property is that the number in front is the number being distributed. Because notice that even with this 5x being in front, I didn't distribute the 5x. I only distribute the number in front of the parentheses, as long as there's no operation in between the two, as far as a plus or a minus. As far as there's no plus or minus in between, we can distribute. Okay? But also notice that we're only distributing numbers inside the parentheses, not outside the parentheses. Outside don't count. It's almost like they're not part of the class. Okay? So just keep in mind that when we distribute, we're distributing the number in front of the parentheses to the number inside the parentheses. Okay? Thank you. Have a good day.